Hi, it's Pam, Rockstar, and we are here today. And like I say, I love being me because I get to talk to these really cool people who are expressing their lives by designing it around their why and building purposeful lives and ventures and businesses. So today, I'm excited to talk to one of my friends, actually. Bonnie, I am so excited to have you with me.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I have been looking forward to this for weeks.
Awesome. Bonnie Lewis, and you will find her and she will talk to us more about Bonnie B. Tailor. And Common Thread is the new thing.
It is.
So for everyone that doesn't know you, want to give us a little bit of who you are?
Okay. Now it's a fun question because is it who I am at work? Is it who I am outside of work? Is it
we think it's who you are?
Oh gosh, okay. Who am I? That's a lead with a thoughtful one.
Well, I know you're a mom.
I'm a mom. I'm a wife.
Recently married.
Yes.
You've got so much fun stuff happening in your life.
I am definitely a wife. I'm definitely a mom. I think those are my funnest identifiers. I think that's kind of just where I really, really find my meaning and my purpose.
So funny because so many people get asked what we do all the time, right? Yeah. Like I remember when I always think about how I met you. Like I remember when someone was describing you to me and they were describing your what.
Yeah.
Right. She's Ralph Lauren's Tailor.
Yeah.
It was all about your what, right? Yeah. But then I met you and it was all about who you are.
It's funny, Brian, my husband, talks about this a lot, that I will downplay my past work experiences, or I'll downplay, I have two distinct businesses functioning right now. One's in the promo phase, as you know. I don't need to explain this to you, but I'm speaking more for our audience.
Yeah.
And then one is up and running, and he'll comment a lot because I don't define myself as my what as much as I define myself as my who and my why.
What is your why?
Okay, my why. That's a great question. Well, you did put your finger on it. My what? Another big identifier for me is I'm a lifelong seamstress. I started
lifelong seamstress.
I am one of those people that I was pretty blessed. I mean, I think I'm a person you would call a person who has a very distinct calling. I've carried it around with me, nurtured it, and developed it since I was about 8 years old. I haven't wavered from it once.
Wow.
Yeah. I've had other jobs that
Can you tell us about the moment, like you said, 8?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Okay. So my why, and I'm also, another thing that I am is I'm a pretty rebellious, but totally devoted and faithful Christian.
Okay.
Yeah. Which means
lifelong seamstress.
Yes.
A rebellious, devoted believer.
and
your why?
A wife and a mom.
And a wife and a mom. We got you.
And then I think I would also top this off with one of life's adventurers. I love to adventure through food. I love to adventure. I don't like to take a day for granted. I like to experience life for its fullest. And that's really my why. And that's a part of what I want to give back. Back
to when you were 8?
Yes, that's where I was going. I knew that I had an obsession at 8. I would go and visit my grandmother once a summer. I come from a family of 3 kids. I'm a Northern California girl. And my mom would pack me up and send me off to my 2 grandmas who lived very close to each other in Florida. And my grandma Ma Louise, is an artist. She's a painter and an amazing painter. And my grandma Smith, my grandma Willie, is a Depression era do-it-yourselfer, lifelong, and she was a great seamstress.
Okay, so you had an artist and a seamstress for grandmothers.
Yes, and I was an 8-year-old spitfire that needed to be kept busy with grandmothers. Grandma Willie would sit me down at her dining room table every day, and we would do a sewing project. And she didn't tell me she was teaching me to sew, which I found out later was one of her lifelong passions and something that she probably did every day of her life. She drew me into this passion by making me Cabbage Patch dolls, which you couldn't buy at that time. Wow. They were always sold out, but I got to make one At age 11, my mom would never let me wear anything too flashy or racy. I think it was because I was 6 feet tall and it would just really stand out. I've been this way since I was 12.
Blessed with height.
No, you could call it that. My grandma Smith let me design for myself this paint splattered, one-shouldered onesie jumpsuit, kind of inspired by the movie Flashdance that I was obsessed with.
Like I was obsessed with.
Yes.
You guys are too young.
It's okay.
I know all these millennial starters. Go watch it.
It's on Netflix. Yeah. It's downloadable. But yeah, and these were really formative times in my life because I realized I could have an idea, or there were things that my culture would tell me I couldn't have, or my mom would tell me I couldn't express myself as. But I had this place of power next to my grandma where, like, no, I can have a Cabbage Patch doll and I can make it myself, or I can be a neon paint splattered one-shouldered flash dance girl and I can make it myself. And
wow.
Moving forward, I realize that I'm very different from other people. Most people look for their purpose. I've never had a choice.
It chose you.
It
Some
chose
people
me.
say it chooses them.
Yes. And it started at age 8. It carried through. I went home. My parents bought me my own sewing machine. My house was always a mess because I would just sort of take over the front part of the house with sewing.
So sewing has always been there.
It's always been there. I had my dad get me a work permit at age 15 so I could work at the fabric store. That was supposed to be my entree into design.
Right.
I studied in Europe a few times because I was a lit major, but I found out that I was actually...
While you were in college, or...?
Yeah, while I was in college, I studied in Europe a bunch of times. I was a literature major thinking you don't make a career out of sewing. But every time I'd go abroad, I would take more sewing gear than I would take clothes or books.
Interesting. The belief was what?
That you can't make a career out of sewing.
Wow.
It's a hobby.
And also, right, our socialization that if we love it this much,
yes,
it obviously can't be what we do for.
It's not a job.
Right?
It's not a job.
So talk to me a little bit about your journey to becoming a tailor for
Ralph Lauren and Disney, and now for my company, Comfort Orlando, where I'm teaching other people to tailor.
Okay. Yeah. So when did you start working with Ralph Lauren? How'd you land that?
How did I land that? All right. I'm going to give you a bit of a journey, but I'm going to jump quickly through it.
Okay. So you were going abroad to college.
Exactly. Came home, realized I am not the literature professor I thought I was. I needed to take a year to think about it because all of my concepts were falling apart. I had been admitted to a great school to do the PhD work necessary to become a college professor, and I had a meltdown. I just needed...
You had finished your master's?
No, I had finished my BA, and I was going to skip directly to PhD because I wanted to be a college professor in literature. And I decided I was going to take a year to think about it because it didn't feel right. So I went to Austin, Texas to think about it, and I opened a I Can Sew Anything shop in the back room of a hair salon.
I love it. I can
did.
sew anything. And since I own salons, I can see this thing
Absolutely.
in the back.
Absolutely. I sewed everything from custom rifle bags for weird, Vietnam veterans who were teaching their sons how to survive in the wilderness, to debutante ball gowns, to custom purses,
You became
the town tailor. I became Austin's town tailor, Austin, Texas's town tailor, which was a weird place to do weird things. We had a great time. I started a design collective with another designer. We called it the Designers Guild of Austin. We started a collective boutique. We were all designing our own lines. We were building and sewing and creating and selling together.
So what did the Austin collective look like? What was that?
It was about 12 designers, and there was no cohesion to it. So we decided to create the Designers Guild of Austin.
Wow. Okay, so now I'm just not the town tailor.
I am now in a community.
Leading this renaissance.
And we're doing fashion seasons twice a year, and we're getting 500 people out to our fashion shows, and they're paying to come to our fashion shows. Austin's also a city with a lot of music and a lot of culture, so people want to get out and see things and support things.
So the path.
Yeah.
This path to your sweet spot, to your greatness.
I've been there. I've been in it the whole time. And I was just telling my husband about this while we were waiting. Looking back on my life, I have been an entrepreneur since I have been employable, because sewing is an undervalued job and I have no interest in being an undervalued professional.
I love that.
So I went ahead and said, without ceilings and without definition, I'm going to define my own streams of income, my own places in the community. And what it's looked like is I've had to start business after business after business after business. And so it's been a fun journey all the way. So
how
did I get to New York City?
Yes. Was New York after Austin?
Yes. I have a girlfriend who was my muse and my model. I designed collections around her. She was one of those great beauties that was also imbued with a generosity of spirit and a lust for life. And she called me one day. She said, I'm moving. And I was heartbroken.
And she lived in Austin.
Yeah, she was one of my best friends. And so I have to give credit too. I was in a design collective. We built a line. I had two best girlfriends that I moved with. A young woman who was named Melanie Beckett, who's now named Melanie Bowen. She and I designed together. So this was not a solopreneurship. Okay. This was a design collective. Yes. And Christine was the model. And she called me one day and she said, I'm moving to New York. And I was a little bit heartbroken because I thought, she's leaving. What am I going to do now? What are we going to do now? She was sort of the person that we made all of our collections and stories around. Mm-hmm. And she said, and the great news is I have a $700 a month apartment and I want you to come with me. And we could work at the CVS. It doesn't matter what we do. You really need to come. And I said, great. And so I did it. and as fate would have it, my move date was 2 weeks after 9/11. And it was terrifying. I was at home when the towers fell at that very scary time. And I thought, I'm redirecting. I'm not moving to that crazy place. I'm going to go and move to Portland, Oregon. Yeah. I'm going to do anything. I'm going to go anywhere but there. And the most beautiful thing in the world happened. My dad is a very cautious person. I won't call him conservative because he's liberal and he's very open-minded, but he's cautious. He's a surgeon. He's a retired surgeon. Everything is prepared and assured
to have want it a certain way.
And he was the one who said to me, listen, Bonnie, you have been preparing and saving to go to New York City for a year and a half now. I've watched you work so hard to get towards this. And you know what? I got to tell you, if you don't go, you just let them win. That's what they wanted. They want dreams to fall apart. They want efforts to fail. They want to tear people's greatness down. And this is my dad. Wow. And I'm his first daughter. And he's encouraging me 2 weeks after America's
get on it, girlfriend.
Biggest terror incident to just pack up and go because I cannot let the terrorists win.
Wow.
And it was beautiful. And I went and, praise God, everything happened quickly. A friend of mine from Austin moved there before me. He was a production manager at Jed Root. He needed a tailor for on-site tailoring, and I'd never heard about this, for a shoot with a model who was one of my icons for a Japanese company called, it was like Mook or something like that. And he supported me and promoted me. So I went on set, and on set, the hairstylist sat me down and said, oh, are you one of Lars Nord's tailors? And I said, I'm not. And in the back of my mind, I said, I am going to be very soon because I want to do this for the rest of my life. Yeah. I was on a photo shoot.
I'm sold.
I was getting paid 10 times what I've ever made in my life. They put out lunch for me for free. I was in heaven.
This works.
And I was working in this community of creative people. Yeah. Everyone on set had a different story. Everyone had a different creative master, like Jedi Knight skill.
Yeah.
And it turned me on.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to be here forever. I love this. So another valuable story about how I'm bringing you very close to Ralph Lauren. We're almost there. I learned about Lars Nord. This is a time when the internet was not really a big marketing area, and I don't even think he's on the internet now. Lars Nord was my agent for 10 years. Amazing man, Swedish man. And he built his entire business on generosity and good relationships. He has no advertising. He has no internet presence. He's not on Facebook.
How did you get him to?
Okay, this is a good story. The only advertising Lars Nord has He's a legend in the fashion photo advertising industry. Everyone knows Lars. And he has construction paper cutouts of his name stuck in a window on 23rd and 6th Avenue, literally taped, literally scotch taped. That's the only advertising Lars Nord does. But he's a very talented man, and he's a very good community builder.
Right.
And so I found in the phone book, back in the day when we used phone books, his office telephone number. And I called him. And his then accountant and office manager, Joyce, picked up the phone. Do you mind if I do a funny? Hello, you're looking for Lars? Well, he's not here. He's traveling. Call me back next Wednesday. So this began a 6-month intention where every Wednesday at 4 p.m. I would call Joyce. And before I met her, I thought she was a 300-pound, big, Brooklyn woman. I'd call her Joyce the Voice. And every Wednesday at 4, she'd pick up the phone. She knew it was me. By about month 3, she'd just pick up and go, "Hey, Bonnie, he's not here. He's in Europe again. Call me next week. How's it going? How's your mother? All right. Well, call me next week." So, and I just... Persistence.
That border razor edge of annoying and persistent.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Absolutely. Once a week.
6 months.
6 months.
24 calls.
6 months. I finally, and I've got this little, quote unquote portfolio, because I'm not tech savvy and I'm not an advertiser. I'm a tailor.
Right.
I've got this portfolio that's like one of those little clear plastic things with a whole bunch of pictures stuck in it of my time doing Fragment of Eye back in Austin and these photo shoots that we would do. So I thought it was really impressive. I pack up my little plastic portfolio and I travel across town on a crosstown bus because I'm just broke and living in New York City. And I've got all the wrong clothes on because I had this outfit set aside from 6 months ago when it was winter and it's now summer. So I'm wearing wool pants and some kind of crazy high-heeled shoes and a little sweater. It was going to be
needs to be a movie.
It was going to be my fashion outfit. So I'm on the bus on 23rd Street. I'm just sweating. I'm sweating through my little woolly sweater. And I get to Lars's office and Joyce the Voice is smaller than you. She's the tiniest, most delicate, feminine little woman you've ever seen. Not that you're tiny, but you're a lean lady. Right? You're a lean lady.
Okay, so we got her.
She is a little willow tree. You can't even... Oh, and she has the biggest, bluest eyes, and she's just so lovely, but she has got the voice.
Yeah.
So she enters, she welcomes me, and I meet this man who by this time has taken on the significance of the door open to everything I want.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, he's the most approachable, smiley face. Some people say he looks a little bit like a very stylish, well-dressed Santa Claus. Should he have a Swedish accent? Yeah. He's just got the happy face and the red cheeks, and he's probably at this time, he's about 50 years old, and he's just like a hip, lean, sort of, he's just like the happy face. So I meet him, and he flips through my quote unquote portfolio, and he says, "Well, these are really nice. I've got to go. We'll call you." And so I leave, and that was that until I got called to go and be a tailor on John Varvados's fashion show, where I guess it wasn't his primary show that season during Fashion Week because all the other tailors left to go do other shows, and I was left to be the last one there, and I'd never done it before. I did a terrible job. I did get to meet Robert Redford, which was awesome.
Yeah.
I did a terrible job on the show, and I never thought I'd get called back until he called me back and put me on the Victoria's Secret fashion show, that crazy thing with the wings.
Yeah, that one.
The hand-constructed bras and the everything. And I mean, it was this moment where, the artistic director would walk in and just drop on my sewing table this gnarled pile of stretch lace with 150 safety pins in it and go, "Darling, this is a cat suit for Naomi. She'll be naked under it. Make it perfect." And you just sort of pick up this weird rat-gnarled piece of
this
stretchy
is my
lace.
Nightmare. This is your
with some safety pins in it.
Died and gone to heaven.
And then
I'd just be
and you just pull it off. You just hunker down your faith. You just hunker down your confidence, and you just pull it off. You just do it because you can't say no.
Right.
Because it's for Naomi Campbell. She's going to be on TV in a week, and this guy is mean and he'll beat you up. So you do it. So then my agent invited me to be on the show because he was also on the show. And I really feel like the Lord had every great intention of me moving forward with his career, because I should have been let go after John Barbados. I just botched it. I botched it.
Sometimes
worse.
Grace shows up. I mean, they knew you wanted it.
And my agent should not have had faith in me after that one. But he did, and he let me come on this big, it's a team of 12 tailors. I can't botch it because I'm one of many. It's it's diluted. And he got to sit next to me, and there was a bra that he couldn't figure out how to make. I'm really sorry I'm telling this story if you're watching. But he, I could tell he was struggling with it because it was basically taking plastic and turning it into the form of a bra. But what was great, just a year before in Austin, Texas, I had done exactly this thing for a stripper. And
it all worked.
Just say yes.
Prepare the brick.
Just say yes, because you never know where it's going to take. And don't ever judge anything, and just move into what you're called to. Because, I mean, not you, but this is the advice I give myself. It has been a just say yes, walk through doors that open, and move into what you're called to, because you don't know. I've never known where these weird tasks and crazy requests have led me. But anyway, I pulled off that bra in like 15 minutes flat.
And he was like, girlfriend.
Oh yeah. And then I went on Ralph Lauren's photo shoot. And that was the beginning of 15 years of the most amazing journey of my life. I have gotten to work with the most talented team and the most creative group and of the tightest team. They're so protective of their team. They're so loyal to their family. And I've just gotten to be in fashion photo advertising. Everybody's a freelancer. That's how it goes. And you really never know when your next job is going to be your last job. You never know why. It is so cutthroat. It's so competitive.
So what has been the key to staying with them for 15 years? Like, looking at it, what do you think it is?
I wish I could tell you. I love them.
Maybe you have just told us.
I love them. I love every one of them. I love the freelancers. I love the company. I love the people. I love the stylists.
This reminds me, I don't know if you saw it, but Greg Pollock, we did an interview, and he was talking. He sold his company for $36 million, but that's not what makes him so cool. He talks about work family.
Yeah. And that's what they have.
The culture has become a work family.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
then this is about relationships, and we do this together, and we conquer the world, and we know our mission, and we know our look.
Yeah. Yeah. I was lucky. I got to get mentored under their primary tailor's named Lena, and she took me under her wing right from the get-go and just mentored me to thrive and succeed. And basically, I'm sure for her it was selfish because she has a way that she wants things done. Well, so if she could, get me in to do it her
way. She had a vision, right?
She has it. It's a much easier day. You get 10 hours to do about a couple $1 million worth of work. If you think about the impact of that one image, where it's going to go and how much money is being invested in it, the money that's gone before it, what's going to come after it. It's once my hands are on the sample that I'm touching, you think about every level of the thought that you never know who conceived of the idea. Was it Ralph Lauren himself, or was it one of his key designers, or was it, you don't know who conceived of the idea, but from idea to sample in my hand is a very long, a very many-handed,
right,
and a very expensive journey.
Right.
So
and now we're going to make it look great so it can.
And I'm the last one to touch it. Yeah. I'm the last one to touch it
on the model
before it goes out to the model. So it's probably another reason that they held on to me.
So talk to us a little bit about, because then I know you have 2 businesses now and a lot of other things, but your why. What has fueled you in here? Like, when you really look at your journey.
I had a crisis of meaning about 10 years ago. I didn't know if I was
only
doing the right
one.
Thing. Yeah.
You're way ahead of most of us.
I've been doing good. I literally carry around a purpose, and I haven't questioned it too many times.
So, crisis of meaning 10 years ago.
And I took, at the time I was not practicing. I wasn't walking in the faith that I'm walking in now, but I was journeying in. I was a very convicted, very devoted meditator.
Okay.
I was, and I would say that my expression at the time was much more Buddhist, as I was searching for what my permanent faith would be.
Truth.
I was searching for what my faith would be. And so my answer to having a crisis and a question, I don't know if what I'm doing is the right thing, I don't know if I'm in my purpose or meaning, was to literally lock myself into my apartment and meditate for 2 days. So I just got quiet with myself, and And I realized that what I needed to do was find a place where I could give back. In photo advertising,
Do the same thing.
Yes.
But find a way you can give back.
I was
That was the
taking a lot.
message.
In advertising, you take a lot. You're put up in 5-star hotels. You're given a very inflated
You're receiving
income.
a lot.
I got a lot.
Give and take.
Absolutely.
You're on the
yes.
receiving end.
Yes.
Okay.
And I felt very compelled because I've always had a great awareness that I'm not an individual. I am definitely of a world, and we are all interrelated. That is in my heart. So it was just time for me to change course. It was to stay within the area of my mastery, to stay with what I developed for already 20 years.
Right. And what was that? So what was the next step?
It was funny. God is so sweet to me. I didn't know what that was that day. I walked out thinking, all right.
Something that gives back.
Yeah, no answers. 2 days later, a girl walked up to me out of the blue. She goes, "You're a seamstress, right?" And I was like, "Shut up." No, I'm way cooler than that. But yeah, I am. So sure.
When Bonnie beat to Ralph Lauren, girlfriend.
Massive ego. She said, I've been doing this inner city after school program. I teach these 9 to 11-year-old kids who it's like they've been bussed in an hour each day and they're in the inner city. And, we keep them at school and we teach them to sew. And I was like, "Speak no more. I'll do it." She goes, "It doesn't pay anything." I said, "Even better. I'll do it. I'll do it." Which should have been suicide for my career.
Thing, ask and receive. Like you get quiet, right? You hear and then. All right. So you start giving back through that program.
And going back to how amazing Ralph Lauren is, the company that I worked for, once they booked me, they owned me for 10 hours. They all negotiated to use me on shoots where they could let me go so I could go teach. I never once had a blip in my income. I never once had a blip in my livelihood.
It all worked out.
And so I was teaching.
What was the path to starting your company now?
Excellent.
And tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll pop over on some other stuff.
Great question. I moved to Orlando as a single mom. Uh-huh. My son is 6 now, but at the time he was 1, and I obviously couldn't fly all over the world and work rigorous long days.
Different life seasons,
yes.
Different values.
Yes. And, Bonnie B. Tailor is a fabrication workroom. We take care of Disney. We build costumes, we build props, we build things for the parks, physically for the parks. We build components for the big characters with the big heads.
Yeah.
And
why that? And what do you love about it?
Okay. That's a great question. What I love about that is my son. And if you want to know honestly how that's evolved now, is what I love about that is my family. And I knew my market value as a seamstress, if I was going to start a business in what you imagine, what do you do as a seamstress? Altering clothes. My market value is about $8 an hour. And I had a son. And I didn't want to work long hours. I kind of wanted it all. I wanted to be a soccer mom. I wanted to be a stay-home mom. I wanted to be there for every bit of his development. And I wanted to be affluent. And I wanted to be a worker.
You had this vision of, okay, how do I take the puzzle pieces now?
Yes.
And because my values are very different in terms of kind of average day or week I want to have.
Yeah. I'm not a real driven entrepreneur. I'm not real success driven.
But I think the thing is, purpose-driven.
I'm a purpose-driven
entrepreneur. And seeing it as like it's a self-expression.
Yeah.
That what you've started is always a self-expression of your life at that season.
Exactly.
So now how to make my life.
Exactly.
My son's life better, and then have a family.
And how it happened, it's once again, live in my purpose. And God has always put me in the right direction. I got a call from an Imagineer. I need 60 flags made.
They just called you.
Well, my brother has a thriving company. He's a mechanical engineer. He was an Imagineer.
Okay.
He connected me with a textile designer.
Connections.
Yeah. And I actually started in his company. He's got a great company, sort of like a creative incubator that serves Disney on all levels.
Okay, so you started inside there.
Exactly. And and he's a brilliant kid and he's so talented. And I'm older, I can't help it. But started there and just built these 60 flags. It was totally unreasonable deadline. It was totally unreasonable time frame. But I just knew it was a door I needed to step through. I had that feeling like this is a door you need to step through. And it didn't yield any money for years. I should have given up on it years ago.
So it was a side thing?
I was still traveling with Ralph Lauren when I had care for my son. And then I would do this and I just continued to walk through it and continue to walk through it and continue to walk through it until it clicked. And there was a moment that I could go on my own. My brother had let me know, like, I support you if you want to go on your own. And it just felt like a good time for me to have direct communication with my clients and just to grow and build. It was time that my church had offered me this big warehouse space that was unused Monday through Friday. So it was just a beautiful time to step out on my own.
So timing, like a lot of things are timing.
Yeah.
So when you look at your journey,
yes.
like, what are some of the lessons or the takeaways you have for other people when you sit down with a starter?
Yes.
Or advice you'd give to your younger self?
Yes. I don't know if this is good. No, I have tons of advice.
Well, what would you say?
But do you want my advice? Because I don't know if it's good advice.
Yeah, you and I are the ones talking, so it's going to be your advice. That's what we do here.
If you carry around a vision, right? I love the term entrepreneur, and I love to remind young visionaries what it means. It means bringer in between.
Bringer in between.
In French, the word entre is between, and prendre, which preneur is the bringer. Prendre is to bring. So if you think about yourself bringing a gift to a house, or if you think of yourself as a person bringing an offering to anything, or if I were to bring Brian a meal, it is the physical act of bringing from me, possibly from someone else, to somewhere someone else. Yeah. And I think of entrepreneur as the person who, we're the Orpheus, we're the poets of the old days who used to take inspiration from somewhere we don't understand. It gets nailed in our hearts. We carry the burden of it, and then we express it in the world because it needs to happen. So if you're an entrepreneur...
I'm really glad you didn't think you had anything to add to us, right? I mean, I was sitting here going, okay, I'm going to have to listen to this 17 times.
But this leads into what the advice would be. If the person sitting in front of me says, I want to make a lot of money, I can't speak into that because I don't know if that's a God-given inspiration.
They said, we're talking to someone that wants to start something.
And they have that vision. Okay, they're nailed with it. They've got it. And I have nothing against making a lot of money. I myself... We're doing pretty well, and we'd like to do better. So let me just preface that. Let's preface that. But it's, my audience is going to be somebody who has the calling.
Find your calling. Is that what you were telling them? Find your purpose.
No, it's going to grow in God's time. And that's where
timing.
My journey has been long, and every single business that I've unintentionally, but with all different weird kinds of success, have opened and walked through, have led me to the place that I'm sitting at right now, where I feel like I am carrying in my hand something that could become very culturally viable and very service oriented and very much complete. I feel like right now I'm really working hard to force out of me the thing that's finally complete.
And that's Common Thread.
Yeah.
And Common Thread's vision is what?
Well, but the advice, I'm sorry, I want to back up a little bit.
Say that.
The advice would be, it might not happen in the time you envision, even with your best efforts. Because if you're carrying this vision that needs to manifest in the world because the universe sees that it needs to exist, you might need to be developed before you can pass it on.
Yeah.
The community... The universe doesn't think in time. The world might be getting ready for your idea. So don't let it go. Just that would be my ultimate advice, is just stay inside of your passion, stay inside of what you feel you're called to do, and don't let it go. Because even if it doesn't take off when you think it's supposed to, don't hang on to it when it's very clear that it's not working. But as long as it's working, just keep moving into it, just keep stepping into those places where the doors open. My doors have never stopped opening, and now I'm here. So Common Thread.
Common Thread is the newest baby you're launching?
Yes.
What's the vision for
it? It is a sewing school.
Of course. Lifetime Seamstress launches sewing school.
What I've developed is a very simple lesson that'll give you all the skills you need to become a competent sewer.
You are becoming your grandmother.
Exactly. I'd like to call it Grandma's Hands Find Tailoring School, but I've been counseled against that.
No, so it's called
Common Thread. Common Thread Orlando, but Common Thread. And we're going to offer really easy to make, really quick to make projects that you can either take in our brick and mortar location or you can order online. I'd like to see it disseminate like Tupperware, where you order, where we actually develop and nurture evangelists in other cities that start micro businesses of their own, and we equip them
Seamstress everywhere.
Well, yeah, why not?
Why not?
Why not? Why not do it? Why not hem your own pants? Why not make your own curtains? Why not have that as a resource in your kitchen? I'm not saying everybody needs to be a designer, but we all live in textiles and none of us know how to manipulate them anymore.
Oh, it's so true. It's
I
like
want to teach the basics.
Our food back.
Yes.
It's like it's just taking these parts of life that the practice of them has a beauty in it. Because it's an art.
Yes.
So talk to me a little bit. What are your spiritual disciplines? What kind of disciplines do you have, like daily routines or anything that help you?
I do.
What are those?
I'd like to say it's the first thing we do when we get out of bed. It's not. We drink coffee. That is the first thing we do when we get out of bed. The second thing we do when we get out of bed is my husband and I pray. We pray over each other's businesses, and we just ask God to be there with us.
So prayer.
Yeah.
Then other things you do or any other?
I am a very physical person. So a lot of my practices are just preparing my body for the workday.
Okay.
I can't work if my body aches. So the minute our son is out the door, I am in the workout room and I take 30 minutes and I listen to podcasts. I listen to Tim Ferriss. I listen to entrepreneurship or entre leadership. I listen to Seth Godin. These are not spiritual practices, but for me...
Well, they are spiritual practices.
Yes. They lift up the body and the mind to be ready to approach the day. Because as a business owner, I'm crafting my day every day. I don't have a task. I have a craft. And it's very crushing some days. Some days it's like flying, and some days it's like being crushed under a building and I can't move.
Oh, amen, right?
Yeah. And I need these practices to propel me into just the next right step.
So prayer,
physical exercise,
listening, having some inspiration and some learning.
Yeah.
What and because you listen to Tim Ferriss, I always steal some questions.
Yes.
What is the book you give away the most?
I wish I gave books away. I am the worst.
Well, what's your favorite book?
I recommend podcasts.
Okay, what podcast? If you were what podcast would you recommend?
Seth Godin's Startup School, hands down, because he's the most generous, loving business.
Yeah, I just think he's a rock star.
He's a rock star whose musical instrument is his heart.
Abundance. He is so abundant.
He loves.
Any other podcasts you really like?
Oh yeah. I mean, yes, absolutely. This American Life.
This American Life.
Because I love...
Oh, is that NPR?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I gotta get that on podcast. See, this is what I like to do. What advice would you give your younger self?
I was a disaster when I was younger. I mean...
what is your advice?
It's going to be okay.
It's going to be okay?
It's going to be okay. Just, you know what? One day at a time. Just don't worry about it. Just do the right things and follow your heart. It's going to be okay. I think that's the advice I would give young me.
Just incredible. Like we could stay here for another hour or two. We'll have you back and talk more. So much great stuff. But as we get ready to sum up, is there anything else you would want to say? Advice you have for starters, people designing lives of purpose?
Yes. Honestly, the word right now, I think the word that's coming to my mind is generosity. As you build your business, I would say remember that generosity will pay you dividends you can't imagine in all areas. Generosity to your client, generosity to your team. And I think the other thing that would come specifically from me is that it doesn't have to look any certain way. Let your business be as eccentric and as quirky as you are.
Oh, let it be a full self-expression.
Absolutely.
Many paths to greatness. Find your own.
Yeah. And the book that I would recommend would be Daily Rituals.
Daily Rituals.
It's how all of these writers write, and they are so weird, and each one is so different.
Read that.
When my husband was courting me, he present bombed me with Daily Rituals. It was on my doorstep with a little note, and I would have married you anyway, but it definitely helped. And I can't remember.
Guys, you heard that. Get the book.
But it's Daily Rituals, and it's these stories like, I think it was like Maya Angelou. I can't remember who, but there are authors who live here and then have their studio downstairs an elevator and physically get dressed for the day, go down an elevator, step out and have a desk and an empty room to write their book, because every creative journey is unique and different.
Yeah, I guess that's my book I'm adding to the recommendation sheet today is, The War of Art. And when he goes, go pro.
Yeah.
And too many times we think go pro means not something that we love.
Absolutely.
And he makes that distinction. You love it. But when you decide to go pro, you cut off all other possibilities.
Yeah.
You are going to be this person. You are going to do this. So you are going to go down the elevator, because a writer that's a pro shows up every day and writes.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can create something. A
Yeah.
painter that wants to be a painter shows up and paints.
Yeah.
So I think it's that decision, like you said, go pro on whatever it is.
But do it your way.
And do it your way.
Do it every day.
Okay, where do we connect with you online, Bonnie?
Oh, wonderful question. Thank you. We have a Common Thread Orlando Facebook page.
Common Thread Orlando?
Yep, absolutely. And then we're also, our website's up and running. It's called commonthreadorlando.com.
All right.
Yeah.
And Bonnie Lewis on LinkedIn?
Yes, Bonnie Lewis is on LinkedIn.
And your email is?
For right now we're in transition, but it will be Bonnie@commonthreadorlando.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. And you, of course, are a dear rock star.
Thank you, Pam.